in 2005, you came to play Blonde Phil Fetch Pasadena Day Slitheen.
That wasn't quite right, you know.
Oh, tell me correctly then.
Blon fel foch Pasimir de Slitheen.
There you go. I
Who
was
comes from
I practiced that.
Raxacoricofallapatorius.
Victorious.
Victorious.
That little place.
Well done. So, how did you come to be on Doctor Who? How did that happen?
Because Russell T Davies is a god. um, they invited me, and as they often do, Boomtown wasn't written. That wasn't, anywhere on the
It
horizon.
wasn't even planned. It was. I mean, Russell T talks about the fact that your performance was so breathtaking that he had to have you back, and he
Oh,
wrote
well.
he wrote Boomtown just because your performance was so amazing.
Oh, well, I've not heard that. I'm very grateful. I knew he'd liked what I'd done. But yeah, we shot first two eps before anything else. That was the first two eps they filmed in the regeneration, because I'm sure you probably know they don't shoot the first episode of anything. They tuck that away so that they know how the machine works by the time they get to it, and everybody's, working as a team. So we shot our first two eps, which were in the summer, and then went away. And I was doing something else called Cutting It, another series that was based in Manchester. And I'd also worked with Phil before, Phil Collinson, the producer. And Boomtown arrived on the mat, which was amazing. And it was around Christmas time, and it just had everything in it. He just had written the gamut. She's lonely. There's lines like dinner in bondage work for me, which I love.
So let's start with the first two episodes. In terms of was that much of a? Were you just asked to do it, or did you have to go through an audition process? How did they actually get the role?
I'd worked with, I think I just met them. It didn't just come through the door, but I think I remember being in a room with Phil and Russell, and I think I was just, I didn't really audition for it, but we met. And Phil had done a series called Born and Bred with Phil. And Russell, just as I bet everybody knows, has an encyclopedic knowledge of actors and what they've been in. He can tell you things that you've long forgotten. And I don't know if he still does, but he used to write with the television on. He had to have the television to sort of accompany him. So he went through a lot of material.
Was there any feeling?
And it was great being... Sorry, Danny.
So I was just going to ask you in terms of. Sorry, I'll get back to what you're saying. In terms of, was there any feeling that this was going to be a hit? I mean, this show had been off for years. Were you nervous about coming back in terms of this is going to be a big flop? What was the general feeling on set?
I was thrilled when I was asked to do it. And as I say, I was on Cutting It, and I was going, I'm going to be in Doctor Who, I'm going to be in... And everybody was kind of vaguely indifferent, not sure, going, oh, right, Doctor Who, right, okay. And I know that I think it worked because Russell, Phil and Chris, the people involved at the top, loved it. It wasn't a cynical venture. Doctor Who was something they really cared about, really loved, really enjoyed. So they invested absolutely in it. And they also knew what would be right for the audience. And I think that's really why it succeeded, because it wasn't just shall we pull that out and see if it'll go again? But no one knew at all. We had the read through in Cardiff Stadium, not in the actual sports field, but a huge room. And it was quite gladiatorial. There was a long table with many execs and directors and producers. And then actors on the other, a long table with actors on the other side, then some heads of departments at either end, then beyond that, chairs of people who were involved. So it was like a gladiatorial arena, and you felt that the execs and the producers would hold cards up with, 6-9 or 1-3 scores. So I felt very much for Chris and Billy, who were, it was the very beginnings of it. But at the time, no one knew. They could only put their very best effort in and hope it engaged with the audience. But everyone was on sort of tenterhooks and just putting in everything they possibly could. Makeup, prosthetics. I remember going for my prosthetic for my head, and just the dedication. When it arrived on set, we were doing the first 2 eps, and Phil and Russell came and said, "Your head's all right, come and see your head, come and see your head." And then my face fell because it was like a death mask. The coloration, the artistry was just wonderful. They caught the veins in my cheeks, and because the weight of the plaster cast pulls all your face down, it did look to me like a death mask of me. So they hurried me away and put the head away as well. So everybody was putting in as much as they possibly could. And it worked. But as I say, I think it came from the fact that it was regenerated by people who loved it, just loved it, and the material, and very much wanted to share that and give that joy again.